What's up, guys? Pop My Pigs for Life here, and today we're back with another episode of The Future of Hammond's Dream, Season 7 in Jurassic World Evolution 2. So now, before we start today's time-lapse, I just want to quickly show you guys that I got a little bit of work done off-camera, specifically right over here. I got a little bit carried away and decided to plan out exactly where the lagoons are going to go, as well as how guests would get down here, which I decided to use the monorail station. I think this is a good little attraction to sort of break up the park a little bit. So right in here we'll likely do Shonisaurus and Nothosaurus, and then right in here we'll do Megalodon. So then one other thing that I also did is I decided to plan out exactly where the enclosures were going to go. So last episode, I mentioned that we were going to do Concavenator and Mentelosaurus, which is what we're going to do over here. But then I said we were going to do Monolophosaurus, Mamenchisaurus, and Chungkingosaurus. And then over here, we would do Gigantspinosaurus and Huayangosaurus. However, one thing I also realized is that we never used Rajasaurus or Jainosaurus yet. Which, for those of you who don't know, basically we are using Majungasaurus as Rajasaurus, and we're using Apatosaurus as Jainosaurus, which was a medium-sized sauropod from the Indian subcontinent. So because of that, here's the new plan. So Monolophosaurus still going in here. In this enclosure, we're going to do Mamenchisaurus, Huayangosaurus, and Gigantspinosaurus. In the aviary, we're going to do Jeholopterus as well as Chungkingosaurus. And then we're going to do Majungasaurus in here. We're going to do Jainosaurus in here. Alright, that's pretty much all I have to say. Let's get right into the time-lapse. Okay guys, so in this episode, we are essentially starting out exactly like I said we would at the end of last episode. Basically, we are creating two exhibits for the dinosaurs of the Guangxi group of what is now southern China. So right now we are building a mixed enclosure for the Sinoceratops and the Tsintaosaurus. On top of that, I did also have to add a little stretch of pathway since that's where the zipline entrance was. What's especially nice is that in between the path and the tour track, there was just enough space to add some large amenities. So because of that, I was able to add in all sorts of essential guest buildings. I was also even able to add a viewing platform that will look into what's going to be the Mamenchisaurus, Huayangosaurus, and Gigantspinosaurus enclosure. So now we are continuing building the Sinoceratops and Tsintaosaurus enclosure. So to start, I'm making use of the forest to conceal the back of the enclosure, and now we are incubating all of the herbivores. And one idea that I also had for this enclosure was over here by the watering hole that I made, I decided to add a Jurassic Park hotel that is peeking into the enclosure. And now we are adding in the Sinoceratops. So in the end, I decided on 2 batches of Tsintaosaurus and 3 batches of Sinoceratops. So that makes 12 Tsintaos and 12 Sinoceratops. And even with all of those herbivores, there was still plenty of room to spare. So because of that, as you can see, I'm sort of experimenting with how big I want to make the enclosure. But in the end, I decided that these guys definitely deserved a spacious enclosure. So now, after this, we are going to move on to the Zhuchengtyrannus enclosure. So, like I had mentioned earlier, we are using the feathered Tyrannosaurus Rex skin as Zhuchengtyrannus. And one thing you can definitely see is I want to sort of make the enclosures look similar to each other. So because of that, I'm adding all sorts of tall fiber for the Zhuchengtyrannus, even though they don't necessarily need the tall fiber. So then after that, I went ahead and added all of the essential guest buildings, and I also decided that since there was a little bit of time to spare left in the video, I decided to plan out some of the future enclosures. And so as we're working on planning out the future enclosures, one thing that I quickly want to mention is that we're probably not going to finish this park before the release of Jurassic World Evolution 3. With the way things have been going in my personal life, I found that I haven't been able to record that much as of late. So because of that, there is likely going to be some overlap between finishing the future of Hammond's dream and the release of Jurassic World Evolution 3. On top of that, I do also want to do one more season of the future of Hammond's dream before we conclude Jurassic World Evolution 2 videos. So now with all that out of the way, as you can see right now, we are making a couple of adjustments to the guest section by the Zhuchengtyrannus enclosure. As you can see, I did replace a couple of the large amenities with some medium amenities, and as a result, I was able to fit a small Jurassic Park hotel right in between, and it fit absolutely flawlessly, which was very satisfying. So then after that, just added a couple of remote viewing gallery entrances throughout the park, and then it is back to planning out some more enclosures. So now, one thing you can see that I am doing right now is I'm planning out the smaller guest section right by the monorail station. So, like I had mentioned earlier, basically the monorail station is how guests would get to the aquatic section, so where Megalodon, Shonisaurus, and Nothosaurus will end up going. And normally in these resorts, we use the park tour a lot, but I feel like this time was a great opportunity to switch it up a little bit and to use the monorail station. So as you can see, I did get a little bit ahead of myself and decided to fully configure this guest section with all of the amenities, the hotels, toilets, emergency shelter, as well as plenty of viewing attractions. And right now you can see that I am working on my sort of first draft, as I like to call it, of the Jainosaurus enclosure. And I say first draft because I ended up making quite a few changes to exactly how big the enclosure would be. And then as you can see, we are working now on the Jeholopterus and Chungkingosaurus enclosure. So one thing that I really like about this is I sort of had this river going from the Zhuchengtyrannus enclosure all the way through the Jainosaurus enclosure, through the aviary, and out to the Rajasaurus enclosure. So now I decided to do a little bit of experimentation with the foliage and with the terrain work. But in the end, the Chungkingosaurus did need a hefty amount of ground fruit, especially since the aviary at the time was not the largest, which eventually I did decide to expand the aviary. I think it turned out to be about double the size that it is currently, and that sort of ate into the Jainosaurus enclosure. So now, as you can see, what I'm doing is I decided to cut a tiny sliver out of the Sinoceratops and Tsintaosaurus enclosure, and that is going to be for the Monolophosaurus, since they're a relatively small carnivore. So now, one of the original reasons why I decided to put the Monolophosaurus enclosure here and not over by the monorail station is because there was a very tiny sliver of land next to the Sinoceratops and Tsintaosaurus enclosure that wasn't being used for anything. So because of that, earlier you saw that I was sort of playing around with splitting the Tsintaosaurus and Sinoceratops enclosure in half. And while I did end up giving them the entirety of the enclosure, I feel like this is a much better compromise, where rather than splitting it completely in half, I just took a small little bit out of it. And as you can see, what I was able to do just now is I was able to extend part of the tour track, so that way we would have even more space to work with for the Monolophosaurus enclosure. So now, as we're working on the Monolophosaurus enclosure, I just want to quickly mention that if you're enjoying this video so far, please consider leaving a like, commenting down below, and subscribing to the channel to see some more videos just like this one. Not only does that help support the channel, but it'll also help the YouTube algorithm by recommending more videos that you might find interesting. And as always, by simply taking the time out of your day to just sit down and watch one of my videos is showing a tremendous amount of support. So as always, thank you all so much for watching this video. So now here's the part where I decided to expand the aviary for the Jeholopterus and Chungkingosaurus, and honestly, the big reason I decided to do that was because I wanted to add a couple more Chungkingosaurus to make the aviary look a little bit more lively. Also decided to add a couple more Monolophosaurus so that we have a total of 8 individuals. And because I decided to expand the aviary, I did have to get rid of some of the fence surrounding the aviary. So because of that, I decided to use the aviary itself as the boundary for the Jainosaurus enclosure, and I just filled the gaps in with some rocks. So now, as you can see, I did end up making the Monolophosaurus enclosure just a tad bit smaller, only because they weren't taking up the entire enclosure. So because of that, I figured that if they weren't using all of the space, that I could spare some for when we add the concavenators next episode. So now all that's left to do for this time lapse is to just add a couple more guest buildings by where the Jainosaurus lookout area is going to go, and then I just ended up making a couple more tiny adjustments to some of the enclosures, and yeah, that pretty much wraps up today's time lapse. Okay guys, so I do have a little bit of unfortunate news. So I decided to record a tiny little bit extra to put at the end of the video, and that recording got completely lost. So because of that, there is a bunch of stuff that I did off camera. So the main thing I decided to do is I decided to work on one more enclosure, which was for the Jainosaurus. So we've got a herd of, I believe, 14 individuals. Yeah, hang on, I can check the hatchery. Because one thing I also did is to make my life a little bit easier, I decided to add a hatchery right over here, so that way I wouldn't have to airlift all 14 of them. So yeah, let's just quickly check. Yeah, we got 14 Jainosaurus. And yeah, they've got quite a bit of space. The only thing is they do need a lot of space, as you can see. So I want to make sure that this enclosure was nice and big. Oh, that's cute. I also decided to add a dome viewing gallery into the Jeholopterus and Chungkingosaurus enclosure. And of course, I did also add all of the decorations to both guest sections that we worked on. So right over here, leading up to the viewing gallery for what is going to be the Rajasaurus enclosure, I have a couple of little biosyn sculptures with a fountain, and it is lined with some tables and chairs. And then right over here, we've got some picnic benches. So then over here, what we've got going on is we've got some amber lining the Jurassic World Hotel. We got a nice little fountain with the John Hammond statue right over here. Got some more picnic benches, some more biosyn sculptures. We've got planters over here. And then do we have anything over here? Oh yeah, we do. We have more planters. And we also have a T-Rex skeleton, which we can pretend is a Zhuchengtyrannus skeleton. So now that you guys are up to speed with what I got done off camera, let's take a look at the things we got done on camera. So right here, we've got one of the Zhuchengtyrannus in all its glory. See if we can find the other one. Oh, the other one's right over here. Ooh, hold up. That is sick. Looking at the Zhuchengtyrannus going into the forest. We've got Tsintaosaurus and Sinoceratops in here. You can get a good view of all of them from the Safari Lodge. Appears all the Sinoceratops are up here. So we've got a variety of different color variations. So yeah, we got loads of Sinoceratops. Ooh, right over here, you can get a nice view of Tsintaos and Sinos. So then, right in here, we've got Jeholopterus. Cute little buggers. So yeah, we got 14 Jeholopterus. Appears most of them are at this insect feeder, which is good because it provides an excellent view from the dome viewing gallery. And we've also got Chungkingosaurus. Which, yeah, the main reason I decided to expand the aviary was so that way I could add more Chungkingosaurus, make it look a little bit more lively. And yeah, they just barely have enough room. And then, right over here, we've got Monolophosaurus. So, we've got 8 individuals over here. Ooh, that's a nice skin. Wow, lots of Gambian. Got Death Valley over here. Taking a little snooze. Mangrove. Sonoran Desert. Love this skin. Honestly, for the Monolophosaurus, anything with Rana is absolute peak. Ooh, with that being said, this one's nice too. Ooh, and yeah, this one's pretty cool also. The orange with the yellow. Yeah, very nice, very nice. So now, because I really want to get this park done as soon as I can, and also because I want to fit in one last season of the Future of Hammond's Dream, I decided to get a lot more done than I had initially planned. So my initial plans were to just do Zhuchengtyrannus, Tsintaosaurus, Sinoceratops, as well as this guest section. But I decided to do a little bit extra so that way we could speed things up a little bit. So because of that, I really think that we only need one last episode for season 7, and then we can move on to our final season of The Future of Hammond's Dream. So basically, the plan for next episode is we're going to start, I think, over here by adding the last dinosaurs we need for both Jurassic China and Cretaceous Indian subcontinent, and that is going to be Rajasaurus in here, and that is going to be Mamenchisaurus, Huayangosaurus, and Gigantspinosaurus. So then we're also going to add in some dinosaurs from early Cretaceous Spain. So we're going to put Concavenator here, we're going to put Mantellosaurus right in here, and then we are going to work on this guest section. So I'm going to add in another tour stop right over here, and then it's going to go up with some path, and there's going to be, I don't know, maybe we'll do another lookout, like with the viewing platform, and then you got the zip line going down. Ooh, actually, you know what would be nice? Kill two birds with one stone is if we put a hotel, because not only does that help with accommodation, but it also provides a view of the Herbivore Valley. And then, last but certainly not least, we are going to work on the Jurassic Aquatic Park, as I like to call it. So, not sure which is going to go where, but honestly, I'm thinking that we're probably going to do Shonisaurus and Nothosaurus in here, and then Megalodon right in here. And of course, we do have to fully do the entirety of this little guest section. So yeah, with that being said, that is going to wrap up today's video. Really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If so, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to see some more Planet Zoo and Jurassic World Evolution 2 content. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.